improving safety on the streets of Milwaukee. That's really at the top of the list here. And my administration, we've advanced a number of efforts. We've advanced efforts on education. My administration has redesigned streets. We have added more pedestrian safety. We've added more protected bike lanes, all in an effort to reduce reckless driving and encourage more safety on the streets. I should add, we've also encouraged more enforcement tools as well. Now, red light running. Red light running is a part of the reckless driving problem, and the city has formally requested and called for state legislation that would allow for red light cameras as a new method for holding these reckless drivers in our city accountable. Now, today we're here to give a special thank you to State Senator Dora Drake, who you'll hear from in just a moment, for her leadership on the Safe Streets, Save Lives Act. Senate Bill 375, which would authorize the city of Milwaukee to pilot a traffic safety camera program. Now, thanks to the senator and her bipartisanship and working across the aisle with her Republican colleagues in Madison, the public will have the opportunity to share their perspectives on the Safe Streets, Save Lives Act for the first time ever. We've taken a couple of kicks at the cat on this, and now the public will have their opportunity to weigh in on this for the first time ever because of that bipartisanship represented by Senator Dora Drake. So I want to thank her for that. While public hearings on state legislation are typically held in the state capitol in Madison, tomorrow the public hearing is going to be held right here in Milwaukee, which is a really, really big deal because it doesn't happen typically, but this committee hearing is going to happen right here in Milwaukee, and I'm very, very grateful for that. I also want to thank State Senator Corey Tomczyk, not only for co-authoring the bill, but also for bringing that committee meeting here to Milwaukee, the Committee on Transportation and Local Government, that is. So during the hearing tomorrow, you'll hear from community members and stakeholder groups who support traffic safety cameras as a vital tool to curb dangerous driving where they live, where they work, and where their kids and where their grandkids play in our community. Now, Milwaukee is committed to Vision Zero, the elimination of deaths and life-changing injury caused by traffic-related crashes. Jessica Weinberg is here, and you'll hear from her as well as she leads that effort for us at the city. And speed is a fundamental cause of the majority of traffic fatalities and life-changing injuries that we happen to see here in Milwaukee. So I've worked with every single city government department to reduce traffic violence. And some of those recent achievements include the Department of Public Works prioritizing safety over speed in designing streets in Milwaukee and securing major grants to accomplish just that. The Milwaukee Police Department improving the unlicensed driving ticket process so that dangerous drivers are taken off the street sooner. The Health Department, the Fire Department, the Department of Administration, Development, they all have stepped up to help in our efforts to make the streets safer for people in Milwaukee. And elected leaders are also taking action. So I want to thank prosecutors, folks like our district attorney, Kent Lovern, folks like our city attorney, Evan Goyke, for stepping up accountability through anti-reckless driving laws, and judges for taking reckless driving seriously. We also know, though, that more work's got to be done. We're not at the end of the line here, and new tools must be deployed to save lives and accelerate our efforts on Vision Zero, again, to make sure that there are no traffic deaths in Milwaukee. So again, I want to thank Senator Dora Drake on behalf of Milwaukee for all the work that she does for our city over in the state capitol. We appreciate the support of our bipartisan state partners as well for helping to ensure that we have the most effective tools in our toolbox to address this really, really important issue. And now I want to present an opportunity for Senator Drake to have some comments here. So Senator Drake, mic's yours.
Well, thank you, Mayor Johnson, and to all the partners that have been involved in this process. It's because we know that legislation is key, and in order for us to find any meaningful action, it takes advocacy, it takes partnerships, across party lines as well as community voices. My name is Dora Drake. I'm the State Senator for the 4th Senate District, and I have the pleasure of not only representing the district, but bringing forth the Safe Roads, Save Lives Act. And you heard a little bit from the mayor about what this bill would do. But long story short, this bill is aimed to increase efficiency in public safety, provide the tools that our local government needs to provide public safety, and ensure that there is fairness in order to create and promote a culture of community transparency and hold local government accountable for traffic measures as well as our civil rights and liberties. The impact of reckless driving alone, we have seen it day in and day out. I can attest where I am driving to work and I have to swivel my head left to right to see if there is someone that is driving recklessly. But let alone in the 4th Senate District alone, traffic injuries and fatalities in Milwaukee have surged by 86% since 2012, contrasting with a 6% decrease statewide. And the most unfortunate thing when it comes to reckless driving is that pedestrians in low-income areas are 3 times more likely to be killed in traffic accidents. 3 more times. And frankly, that's just unacceptable. And this is a piece of legislation that has gone forth many years before I was even elected. So to finally see that this is getting a public hearing is not just an accomplishment, but now we have the call to action to show up, to show out, and to share your voice on why this bill should be passed. Some of the things that this piece of legislation does is provide local control, like I said. So our local government, which would be our mayor and the common council, would create the framework for what it means for law enforcement to install these speed safety cameras, as well as do data collection, access protocols, and different guardrails to ensure that data is kept in decency and order. And this bill also requires that the city engages with you, the residents, and your communities for comment on these new ordinances and strict standards on alerting the public of proposed camera locations and accessible opportunities for comment. And the best part, which I absolutely love, is that this will not be a one-time deal. There would be public reporting, not just to the legislator, but also to the community, where you are able to provide feedback on financial details 5 years past the implementation. These cameras will only be activated if you are speeding 15 miles over the speed limit, first and foremost, and is only seeing capturing the data on your license plate. So there's no facial recognition that is involved in this piece of legislation. The other part of this is education. We want to ensure that when this bill passes, because we must speak into existence, that there will be a public campaign where we will let the public know 3 months in advance where there will be signage, where these cameras will be installed, and you will get fair notice. So in that way you do not get perhaps a ticket unannounced. Last thing is we must dispel the myth of this bill being a cash cow for revenue. It's not. Point blank period. With the revenue that would be generated from these cameras, it solely will go back to either public safety measures, traffic infrastructure, and law enforcement agencies, and that will be determined again by the framework that Common Council Mayor would implement. So again, these are preventative measures that's smart on public safety and not reacting to the harm and the death that we've already seen in our cities. So again, I am so thrilled that we've had bipartisan support, and thank you to my colleague, Senator Tomczyk, for agreeing to not only help lead this legislation, but that it is here in our own city. So when we have the opportunity to speak, now is the time that we do so. So come to the public hearing. We want to hear from you, to hear your testimonies and your stories, and this is how is the process of our local and state government are working collectively to provide the needs of the community. And with that, I'll kick it off to one of our amazing partners at the city, Jessica, who's with Vision Zero, who has been truly instrumental in providing information as we drafted this legislation. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm Jessica Weinberg, the Vision Zero Policy Director for the City of Milwaukee. Traffic safety cameras are simply a tool that the City of Milwaukee needs to have in our traffic safety toolbox to reach zero traffic deaths, which is the goal of Vision Zero. It's clear that traffic safety camera programs work, and this bill builds on that success and incorporates past community concerns, allowing Milwaukee the ability to create a fair and effective program if it is passed, when it is passed. The senator certainly went over some wonderful details of the legislation, so I'm going to focus some comments about what I'm hearing from the community, what I know the mayor has heard from the community, that people really want solutions. There's really broad support for traffic safety cameras in Milwaukee. Many organizations are stepping up and joining us for this bill, including AAA, AARP, the Historic Concordia Neighborhood Association, Independence First, and more. And when we did a survey in advance of our Vision Zero action plan, checking in with people on a broad suite of solutions that were community generated, we found that 60% of respondents in that survey said, please investigate and consider employing traffic safety cameras. That majority really says something for us. In addition to kind of this broader support, I speak almost every day with families who have been impacted by traffic violence, and it is their clearest plea that we do everything we can to slow drivers down so that it's not your child or my child or your life or my life that is the next one that's lost on our roads. So here's a few quotes from people who really want to see action on this matter. Too many drivers are speeding, running red lights, and causing injuries or fatalities in Milwaukee. It's time to authorize the use of traffic safety cameras in Milwaukee and allow the city to pilot this life-saving program. That's from a woman named Kathy, who's the widow of her husband Michael, who was killed at 6th and State while crossing the street. My son was killed while legally crossing the street by a speeding driver. Having these cameras in place 3 years ago may have helped me in finding who took my son's life. In losing my son, it brought to light how bad we need better traffic safety measures here in Milwaukee. That's from Gloria, the mother of Xavier. I write not just as a supporter of SB 375, but as a parent, a neighbor, a human who refuses to accept preventable loss on our roads as normal. This isn't about punishment, it's about prevention. It's about choosing safety over speed, lives over convenience. Sean, a community advocate. It's so easy to drive 40 miles an hour down a residential street because that's what we've normalized. When I'm driving past a school and no other drivers stop for pedestrians, why should I? I'm sealed up in my car and I won't be held accountable if I just keep speeding along. I believe strongly in the potential of traffic safety cameras for improving our streetscape, and I'm hopeful that this is an important step towards safer streets. Peter, parent of 3. Finally, installing this TSC pilot program is a step in the right direction for all of us. The citizens of Milwaukee are reclaiming their streets and moving towards a culture of neighborliness and safety for all. We have so much to do. Traffic calming bump outs and bike lanes are being installed with a focus on high traffic and high crash corridors. Driver education for our young people has returned as a priority, and with the city's help, neighborhoods are coming together and working on customized solutions like traffic circles. We are taking back our streets from the strangers who wish to travel through our neighborhoods with impunity for their dangerous behaviors. David, Milwaukee resident, elder, and biker. Thank you. Turn it back over to the mayor for questions.
Great, thank you so much, Jessica. I think one of those testimonials was really, really important and informs the work that we do. Again, it's prioritizing safety over speed, right? It's about safety over speed, and when more people have access to safety, then we're able to save lives on our roadways and in our neighborhoods. So I mentioned before that, and thanks again to the senators' bipartisanship, that the committee is going to be here in Milwaukee tomorrow, which I'm very, very pleased about. I'll have the opportunity to testify at that committee tomorrow as well. So I will be joining the chorus of folks from across Milwaukee who will be advocating for additional tools for us to keep our streets safe in Milwaukee and increase safety actually on the streets in Milwaukee. With that, we're happy to take a couple questions.
What do you say to Republicans who are going to say that this is just a money grab? They're already saying it.
I think the senator pointed out that it's not. It just isn't. I mean, this is about safety. What I say to that is that any dollars that are generated from this we'll go to the areas that the senator talked about. I think Republicans would like to invest in public safety. Well, guess what? Resources generated from this will invest in public safety. We'll invest in infrastructure. We'll invest in education from people who make a poor decision and decide to speed through red lights in the city of Milwaukee. So it's not a money grab. This is about encouraging more safety in Milwaukee, which is what I want to see, what the senator wants to see, what Jessica wants to see, and really, quite frankly, what people all across Milwaukee and neighborhoods literally all over the city want to see as well.
He pretty much nailed it on the head. I think the last thing too is, as a state, it is our responsibility to provide the tools and resources necessary for our local government to ensure that communities are safe. This is something that the city has been asking for years. It's time that the state does its job.
There's been multiple bill attempts at this, and residents in the area might get them. What would you say? I know you're excited that this is moving ahead to a hearing tomorrow, that people can speak their minds about it, and that's a big step in this, but this is failed.
And I understand people's frustrations, and like I said, in the history of this piece of legislation, there's been different variations of the bill. But I think what's different with this bill that we've drafted is that it's actually got a public hearing. All the other pieces of legislation that have been introduced in years past never got as so far to even allow the public to comment. So I think in having people come and show out what their concerns are, why they would support this, gives it additional life. We're elected as leaders, but our job is to represent the people. And so now that we've brought this piece of legislation forward and now we have a public hearing, I believe that it's moving in the right direction.
I want to ask you about the different record-setting bill, the Alder Westmoreland's impoundment bill. Do you know if there's any hope for that to move forward at the state level, or where do you guys at?
That's probably more of a question for the senator than me. Look, I want for every tool that we can possibly muster to keep our streets safe in Milwaukee. I want for the police department and our other law enforcement agencies to have access to all the tools possible to keep Milwaukee safe. And there are individuals who are out there who are driving recklessly, whose vehicles need to be impounded for that. Well, then we should be impounding those vehicles, and we should get, I think, greater latitude to be able to do that, because what I've said constantly is that when people decide to break law, when they decide to hurt people, if we don't hold them accountable, and folks, you guys hear me all the time, right? Say that if somebody commits an act of death, harm, or destruction in this community, they should be held to account. So if people are not held accountable, then they believe that gives them license to go to some other neighborhood, to hurt somebody else, to damage somebody else's property. And I'm sick and tired of that. I think people in Milwaukee are sick and tired of that. And we should have every single tool possibly available to us in order to curb that sort of behavior.
A question, what would you say to residents that maybe don't want this, they feel like they're being watched, even if they're doing all the right things, or people that say it's like Big Brother, members around the neighborhoods, what would you say to that?
Yeah, I also would like to be in a position where we didn't need to have something like this. It gives me no pleasure to be in a position to be championing something like this. But unfortunately, there are too many people that are out there who make really, really poor decisions, and they put themselves in harm's way, and they also put the greater public in harm's way, right? I think about when somebody runs through a red light in a neighborhood or near a park or near a school, and they're not worried about kids, right? I don't want those kids to have to endure something like that. So we're taking the steps necessary to make sure that we protect this community, but especially that we protect our kids, protect the senior citizens in this community, and holding folks accountable that decide to break the law. Now, if you are not speeding through a red light, then guess what? No problem, right? There's not an issue because you're not speeding through the light. You're not breaking the law. So this has really got nothing to do with you. It's got a lot to do, though, with those individuals who decide to endanger the greater public safety here in the city of Milwaukee. And so we want to hold those folks accountable.
Speak to it.
I'll let the senator touch on.
One other thing that I didn't mention, one of the details in the bill puts limitations on how many of these speed enforcement cameras can be placed. And so for each aldermanic district, I believe that only a max of 5 cameras can be placed. And that was intentional to assure, obviously, the concerns that the public might have about surveillance. That's why we want to make sure that there was a public recording so people knew what was being recorded. And on top of that, making sure that it wasn't all concentrated in certain areas of the city as well.
And before the last question, I will also add, because thank you, Senator, I think that's a really good point, that no more than 5 of these cameras per aldermanic district. That's a really good point, so thank you for bringing it up. I'll also point out the fact that I've tried to impart upon people that when you leave out your front door and your foot hits the sidewalk, right, you should imagine that you're on camera somewhere. Right? I don't even know whose phone this is. There's a camera sitting right here. Right? I've got 2 cameras in my pocket that I carry right now. Everybody's got a camera. You guys, there's cameras all over the place. The businesses have the cameras. The Department of Transportation has cameras. There are cameras literally everywhere. I mean, there's a county bus passing us right now. The buses have cameras on. Like, there's cameras literally everywhere in 2025. So you should expect that. In Milwaukee right now, but to the senator's point, yes, there is a limit to the number of these cameras that would be deployed in the aldermanic districts across the city, 5 in each one. Was there one final question?
Why only 5 years? And for anyone else, double question here, last. The data is very confusing. Both sides are citing data that says contrary things about red light cameras. What should we make about that conflicting studies that are out there? Not very easy to understand when you have so much conflicting data.
So there's been a wide range of traffic safety programs kind of over the last 20 years that use cameras. But in recent years, NHTSA, the federal agency, has gone through and looked at all the high quality recent programs and done rigorous studies and combined them and found that injury causing crashes reduced from 20 to 47% across about 10 major cities in the US. And so that data is really strong and positive, and really the best scientific data we have on these programs. They are effective, they do work. Multiple studies, when combined, really show that results. And there might be earlier studies from very early programs that had some problems with how the programs were designed, and this bill really takes those into consideration and makes sure some of those issues don't occur here.
Senator, why only 5 years for this bill? Why not give the city the power to have this indefinitely?
So that was something that was discussed amongst different partners. Now, if there's a opening for what that might look like, that have to be a discussion with many of the legislators and partners that we've worked with. But again, it was to provide some framework of collecting the data, using it to aggregate, and then providing a report. But I'm sure that whatever it will take to get to the finish line, that still keeps the essence of protecting lives and having safe roads, I think is up to discussion. All the more reason why people should show up at the public hearing tomorrow.
Thank you, everybody. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
You going to the game tonight?
No, I've been here.
Yeah.
I didn't even mention ring Dora.
Yeah.
So they're
Yeah.
just, they're all,
They are all over the place.
yeah.
Thank you, guys. Hi. Good to see you. How are you?
I think you were at the last